Thank you very much. I'm really sorry I can't be with you in person. Unfortunately, I've had to change my plans at the last minute. But I'm going to be talking about some work that we've been doing on the Drift project around what sort of project management training do RSE teams and particularly RSE team leads need. So what is the Drift project? So a quick introduction, it is a project that is aiming to look at the lack of DRI training for certain sorts of research support roles. So these are people working within interdisciplinary research teams who have some sort of facilitation role between the research software engineers, the researchers, and perhaps other elements of the research organization. And we think that developing support for research facilitators is particularly important because they are the trusted role that builds all of these different links and bridges between research technical professionals, including RSEs, and the research community. So if we can make sure that research facilitators have the right skills and experience, then we know that we'll be able to further the needs of research software engineering. And in some sense, the head of a research software engineering team is one sort of research facilitator. So you might be asking if it says lack of DRI training, surely there's no lack of project management training. And that's very true. The issue is not that there aren't project management training resources out there. The issue is that there are so many project management training resources that it can be hard to find ones which are best suited for the research software engineering space. So what we've been looking at is trying to understand the challenges to learning project management within research software engineering teams, and try and think about how we might move forward and define what a curriculum for project management for research software might be. So as I mentioned, there are lots of resources that you can choose from, but most of these resources are not focused on research software. The examples that they give are either from industry or from open source, or even not from software at all. There's a lot of focus on time management and planning rather than working with teams, and in particular, working with teams with different experience levels. There's often a sense that project management is around working with teams that you can directly manage, whereas in many cases in research, you have indirect control over the people that you're managing. A lot of it is aimed at individual project managers rather than collectively at teams. And yeah, as I said, it assumes management of teams where you have a high degree of control. So we were looking to see how we might move forward from that. And one of the key inspirations we have is from some work that Tracy Teal, previously of the Carpentries and now of Open Archive, was looking at in terms of what inclusive project management would look like. And so this is something that was examined at the SSI's Collaborations Workshop in 2022, where we got people to provide ideas of the different sorts of topics that we're looking at the person-centered part of project management for research software, as opposed to the process management focused elements of management. And there's all the different sorts of things from building teams that have a high degree of trust, to being an inclusive leader, to understanding how you manage accountability and transparency. And I think this is a great stepping stone towards what a project management curriculum for research software might look like. So what have we done so far? In the Drift project, we have been looking at a number of different sources of project management training. In particular, we've looked at things from the Linux Foundation, from the Turing Way, Code Refinery, the Carpentries, and the Open Science Training Handbook. We've also talked to people in the research software engineering community in the UK who've developed courses in different universities, including Manchester, Imperial, UCL, and Southampton. And what we've created is this draft curriculum that we're now looking to get feedback from the community. That's you. There is a link on this slide, and there'll also be a link when you come to the end of these slides, which will take you to a preprint of a curriculum, which includes a Google Doc where you can go and take a look in more detail at what I'm going to go through in the last few slides, and provide us with feedback about what you think is missing, what you think is perhaps in the wrong order, whether you think there are particular topics that deserve prioritization or deprioritization. So now what I'll do is I'll go through some of these different aspects so that you can see what we are talking about and how we think this would be structured. So to start with, we were looking at the different learning objectives for this, and I think one of the key things that we were focusing on was grounding it in the research software community and in research software projects. So I think one of the key things that differentiates this from general project management training is trying to understand those distinct characteristics and challenges of research software projects, whether that is the different types of incentives or the different types of people that you'll be interacting with, the constraints and barriers on time. So how do you use all of the standard project management techniques, but within a research and a research software environment? The other thing here is about trying to ensure that you understand how you can do the communication and collaboration, especially when you're working across different roles and different institutions. So again, here, this idea of interdisciplinary and cross-institutional teams is something that we think should be key in the learning objectives of a project management curriculum. And then finally, there's those additional kind of concerns, risks around research software. So things like not just the code quality, but also whether it is producing reliable and reproducible results. So how can you put in place project management practices that help ensure that you are not just creating robust and well-engineered software, but also software that is fit for purpose? So I'm going to go through now briefly the different modules, and what I'm going to do here is just kind of say a little bit about what we were looking at in each one. So in particular, what we were looking to see was whether there was already open source material available and whether there was material that was tailored to the research environment. And we split this into 8 modules. The first one is on Introduction to Research Software Project Management, which is really about trying to get across the key concepts for project management. And here there is open source material available, but the challenge here is that each of the different parts of what we think should be in this module is split across many different courses. So there might need to be something done to help summarize this. And we emphasize that we're not trying to rewrite material that's already out there. We're trying to put it into a structured form that makes it easier for people to navigate and use. For the second module, initiation, planning, and scoping for research software projects, there's little existing research software specific material for this. And I think this is one of the key areas where there needs to be development of more community resources. For agile and iterative methodologies, it's very similar to Module 1. There is a lot of things out there, and increasingly there are specific versions of this for the research software engineering community. However, a lot of this is not yet openly licensed. Module 4 on team building, trust and onboarding. This is where we see, again, a lack of information, and we'd want to see more resources being developed. Module 5 on open source development for research software. This is where there's a lot of existing material, and much of it is already well tailored for research software engineers. Module 6 on project execution and monitoring. Here, it varies a lot. For things like best practices for version control, there's obviously a lot of good resources out there. But for things like communication and reporting, and managing the development process, there's little out there to be found. And finally, Module 7, risk management and quality assurance. Here, there's a lot of generic material, but there's not much on the specific sorts of risks that research software projects find. And in Module 8 on project closure and sustainability, thinking about what we saw in the keynote earlier today, there's little suitable content about how you properly sunset or hand over a project. So what's next? Our aim is to take this work and start filling in some of the gaps, start trying to come up with ways of producing a course that we can pilot that enables people to take and navigate this existing material, fill in the gaps with new material. But what we need to know before then is, have we got these modules right? So have we covered the right learning objectives? Do the course modules cover the required content? Are they sensibly arranged? And in particular, we've done some literature review here and we've searched for resources, but what other existing resources should we be aware of? So if you'd like to give us some feedback on this, you can go to this DOI link and the slides will be shared as well, so that you can contribute either by getting in touch with us by email or by contributing directly to the Google Doc that's linked from this DOI. If you'd like to see more about the different things that we've considered, here's the list of all of the different courses we've looked at. And then finally, I'll just leave this up. There's a QR code here from the Drift project where we have a larger survey around a number of different questions about training for research facilitators and teams. So please do fill that out if you have the time. And thank you very much for your time, and see if there's any questions.
We have a couple of questions. First question, don't you think that how research software projects are managed depends heavily on the ways of working of a particular group setup and how it integrates with the institution? So how is it possible to create a one-size-fits-all curriculum?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's possible to get a curriculum at the top level that fits generally for most of the different types of projects, because although there are a lot of differences in the way that you might manage a project, many of the principles are the same. So I think here the real challenge is making sure that the examples and the way that you kind of take on board and put into practice the information in this training is tailored to the situation that you yourself are in. So yes, I think it is possible, but there will be work that's needed to ensure that it works for you. It's the same way as for if you're thinking about other types of training. The principles may be the same, but the tools you use might well be very different, and having examples with those tools is very helpful.